kick him straight up, then can the ass.
Pick your goal and stick fucking to it. You wishy-washy motherfuckers. I can't fucking stand you.
I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time. You make the time.
And now, welcome to the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast, sponsored by FitnessInformant.com.
Fan base, network bench. Can't say there's worse, bitch. Do something, fuck it, I prove something, don't switch.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. I am your host, Fitness Informant founder, CEO Ryan Buckeye. Thank you all for stopping in, checking out our awesome weekly podcast featuring amazing guests from the fitness and nutrition world. Guests like Ronnie Coleman, Branch Warren, four-time Mr. Olympia Jay Cutler, and our amazing guest here today, the CEO of Core Nutritionals, CEO of Merica Labz, CEO of Merica Energy, CEO of Nutrition Corners, and he's got his hands involved all over Arms Race Nutrition, a new brand launching here this month with Julian Smith and Mr. Kent Engel, who we had here on the podcast in the last several weeks. Dude, I'm stoked about this episode because Doug is a natural bodybuilder and he has a really extensive background outside of sports nutrition, but found a passion for the gym. And he's going to talk about that in the podcast here today and how that passion for the gym and that passion for fitness translated into him wanting better products for himself as he was competing on the natural stage. I didn't know Doug's story before this podcast. In fact, Doug and I, we've known of each other. Obviously, I know more about Doug than Doug knows about me. That's a given. But Doug and I talked at the Arnold this year, and that's really what started to stem the relationship between Doug and Core and ourselves here at Fitness Informant. And I've been friends with Kenton for a long time, but you know, I never had an opportunity to really speak to Doug. And I knew Patrick, who's over at Core as well. Patrick and Kenton were the two contacts that I essentially spoke to. But I finally got an opportunity to speak to Doug at the Arnold. I tried the two Merica Energy drinks that are now out on the market today. Basically, their cream soda and their cherry Coke. And we just struck up a good conversation. And from there, kind of, we started conversing more between my brand and his via Instagram. And one thing led to another. We finally was able to secure Doug to get him here on the podcast because Doug is smart, and Doug puts himself out there on Instagram as well for people to see the internal ways of the Miller family. And by the Miller family, Doug touches on this in the podcast, but not only his immediate family, his wife and two kids, but also the family at Core America, in which he has built out through his passion and vision for better supplements using a consumer-first innovation approach to create these amazing supplements. And I've been a fan of Core Nutritionals for a long time. And if you've never used Core, I highly suggest looking into them. It's really good in terms of their formulas. Listen, I tout for NutriBio quite a bit as well in terms of a brand that needs education to explain how goddamn great it is. And Core is the same way. Like, Core has the educational aspect to explain to the consumer why this brand is so fucking good. And it really is. So I am stoked that you all get a chance to hear Doug and hear his story on the podcast here today. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. Thank you so much. Seriously, that's a sincere thank you from me. It means a lot to me to have these downloads keep increasing week over week and people streaming this podcast, whether it be on iTunes, Spotify, watching here via YouTube, or going to fitnessinformant.com. But do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. That way you get those notifications pushed to your phone or your mobile device to let you know when the new podcast is published, which is going to be every Tuesday at midnight, basically Monday at midnight, depending on how you look at it. And with awesome, that helps out the algorithm, get more people involved in the world of being informed and living fit, being better about themselves through fitness and nutrition. And that's really what we're trying to do here as well. This week's Pumped Up segment of the week is being brought to you by Built Fast Formula's award-winning VasoBlitz Pump Igniter. Not only is VasoBlitz the winner of our 2018 Shield of Excellence Supplement Awards for the best pump product, it is also the first nitrate formula fully disclosed with 30 servings, not scoops. When VasoBlitz is consumed daily, even on your off days, it should last you a full month. All this for only $34.99 over at buildfastformula.com. As a special promo code here for this listening audience, use the code INFORMANT and it'll save another 15% off. I'm pumped up this week about Arms Race Nutrition, and Doug and I will talk about this during our conversation, but Arms Race Nutrition is another brand being launched under the Doug Miller enterprise in collaboration with Kent Nangle and with Julian Smith, who was with Bodybuilding.com, now off on his own, and with Doug Miller, and they're going to be launching they're going to be launching Arms Race Nutrition on June 25th. I've had the sneak peek of all the labels. I've seen all the labels, and they've been launching them and releasing them on Instagram over the weeks, and I'm not sure if they're all been released yet, but I'm pumped because it's what a lot of these people, what they do or what they could do, if you look at, say, like the High Tech umbrella, they own several different brands, but within each of those brands, a lot of the formulas are kind of the same, but the brands differentiate based on the consumer they go after. Well, with Doug and with Core and Merica and now Arms Race Nutrition, they all reach out to a different consumer, but they also all have different formulas. There's no formulas that are similar across the brands, which I appreciate. So when you see the formulas from Arms Race Nutrition that's going to be posted to Instagram and that's going to be launched for people to see, you're going to be impressed, I think, as well, because they're using a lot of new age innovative ingredients that we have not seen in formulas yet. And with that, you can approach that. People might approach that with caution because they're not sure if they work. But listen, I know the guys behind these formulas. I know how much work and research they put into the science of the ingredients. They don't just select ingredients because it's the sexy ingredient of the week or the flavor of the month. They select ingredients based on science, but then Doug touches on this as well, based on use, and that's what pumps me up is when brands innovate based on things that actually fucking work. And this brand Arms Race Nutrition is a beautiful packaging, but it's not just all beautiful packaging. It's not just that to get you in. It's also going to be efficacious dosages of great ingredients and great products from them. So that's what I'm pumped up for this week. Our Genius Moment of the Week is being brought to you by the Genius brand. The Genius brand offers high-quality supplements with scientifically proven, clinically dosed, all-natural ingredients. With a blatant disregard for profit margins, the Genius brand focuses on creating innovative, industry-leading wellness supplements to help you live an active, healthy, and long-lasting life. Supplement smarter today. Check out full reviews of the Genius brand at fitnessinformant.com. Genius Moment of the Week this week. It's not a regurgitation of something I've spoken about before per se, but you just need to be smart in terms of what you say on social media. Now, this isn't necessarily going to pertain to, say, fitness, but it can pertain to mental health because you have a platform and because we live in a country where freedom of speech is our right, people tend to take advantage of that and at the detriment of other people's feelings, meaning they'll say whatever they want and they don't care about any repercussions, but that doesn't make you a good person. So for me, it's like the Genius Moment of the Week is you're going to get much more out of life when you're a good person than if you're a complete waste of fucking space. And I see what a lot of people do, and specifically this is the area I want to focus on. And I've talked about this on my Instagram stories, but men who use Instagram that think it's okay to use that platform to make advances at women, sexual advances at women via the direct message game. Now, I have seen some pretty bizarre and fucked up messages from men to women. Now, I'm not saying women don't do this to men, okay? But I think it happens more often men to women. And why it happens is because a lot of the women that receive these DMs are posting these photos in which some deem to be inviting, okay? Now, their intentions are their intentions. Whatever they're posting that photo for, that's their intentions. Do I agree with it? It's neither here nor there. But if they're going to do that, if they're going to post a booty picture, it does not give you the right, even still, to DM photos of yourself, of you revealing yourself to that woman. It does not give you the right to say whatever you want to that woman. It doesn't. What it does is it makes you fucking disgusting. It makes you a bad person, and you should be punched right in your dick. Seriously. It's disgusting. I can't imagine, if for whatever reason, my wife does not do this, but if she was proud of the way she looked one day, and she's in a swimming suit, okay, because it's summertime here in Minnesota, but she's in a two-piece bathing suit just looking like a dime, okay, and she decides to post a photo of herself on Instagram, in her bathing suit. Now, this is not a come get me photo. This is not I want it photo. This is a I'm proud of the way I look in the swimsuit photo. It's summer. I'm having fun. And if some motherfucker would DM her with sexual advances and some of the stuff that I've read and seen, like that person, if I ever came face to face with him, he would leave the room without a face. Like I would rip his face directly off his face. That's a fact. Some people end up headless. This dude would end up faceless. He wouldn't have a face on his head. He would just have a flat whatever. Because it's inappropriate. It's disgusting. It's not what you should be doing. So the genius moment of the week is just because we live in a country, and this is America. I know if you don't live in America, it might be different. But in our country, there's this thing called freedom of speech. There is open access to social media platforms, and you can really do a lot of good, and you can do a lot of bad. If you think it's okay to say some of these things to these women, you are dumber than a box of rocks. You are dumber than fuck. Here to listen to me discuss what irritates me today. We're here to really focus the center of attention on Doug Miller and on his brands that he represents in Core Nutritionals, Merica Labz, Merica Energy, and obviously Arms Race Nutrition. And I thought this conversation was absolutely brilliant. If you are a brand owner, you're going to love it. If you're a supplement connoisseur, you're going to love it. And if you've never heard of Core before, like listen, understand what they're putting into these brands that they own. And understand when you buy Core Nutritionals, who is a preferred brand of fitness informant, like this is a featured brand at FI, we love them. You're buying quality supplements at efficacious dosages. You're not getting half-assed anything with this company. So check them out, corenutritionals.com. I'm going to sit back, put my feet up, and I'm going to re-listen to this podcast again because Doug Miller was a true gem to have on the podcast. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. CEO, Core Nutritionals, Mr. Doug Miller.
The BAR, Breakfast at the Ready, is finally here. The world's first protein bar made with real cereal pieces from some of your favorite cereals and the best cereals of all time. This bar has 20 grams of protein, only 20 grams of carbohydrates, with 5 of them coming from sugar, and 4 grams of fat, 190 delicious calories that you can fit in at any time. Any person can take this bar, man, woman, child. Whether you're working out, you're training to build muscle, or you just need a healthy snack throughout the day, the BAR is your solution. Go to redcon1.com and order the BAR Breakfast at the Ready right now.
With the amount of hard work that I put in, I need a reputable brand.
I absolutely love this stuff.
The energy is amazing. The pumps are ridiculous. The flavor is absolutely delicious.
I was blown away by the amount of energy, the muscle pump.
It keeps me going throughout the day.
Take your workouts to the next level.
The energy was so crazy for me.
Really gives me the boost I'm needing in the morning.
You will train harder. You will see better pumps. You will go longer in the gym.
The quality of the ingredients makes a difference.
Try Rise. You're going to love it. I guarantee it.
Their products are top of the range, and I'm very proud to be a part of Team Rice.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
I've spent most of my life chasing what's termed as unattainable. An obstacle in my path, I torment it. Any limitation trying to control my environment, I tame it. Any excuses, I transform into commitments. The haters, they're too small for me to even see. For 28 months before Cage Muscle even released, I broke myself against the will to identify, track, test, and trial the ultimate resources available in human existence to bring you something the world has never seen. Change is upon us. Don't justify your complacency. Evolve with me. Part animal, part machine. I'm Chris Gethin, and I am Cage Muscle.
All right, everybody, what's going on? Welcome back inside the Be Informed, Live Fit podcast. If you're watching via YouTube, which is what we do with a lot of our free time now, Doug Miller, goddamn, dude, look at you. Doug tells me I'm cutting, so I look small. I believe if there's like people comment on this, they're gonna say Doug still looks jacked as ever, still looks large as ever. So if this is what cutting looks like, the rest of the world's doing it wrong.
Bro, we set up this podcast room to be like black walls and like to have the lights overhead like posing lights. So I just look bigger than I really am.
It's true. That's the lighting aspect of looking big or the right angle it's unbelievable how much different you can look versus if you're in like a bright room. You could literally go from looking great to looking like shit in a matter of just an angle and light.
It's all about the angles.
I love it that we got you on. I've wanted to get you on for a while. A lot of people will look at what you do because what you do, for me as a business owner, I don't know how you do it because you run Core Nutritionals, you run Merica Labz, Merica Energy, Nutrition Corners, and then you have Arms Race Nutrition, which is launching here this month as well. You're a husband, you're a father. How does Doug Miller do it?
I mean, the answer is kind of simple. I've surrounded myself with really great people.
Sure.
You know, I mean, there's other things, right? Like obviously the hard work, the dedication, all of that stuff. But it's really the people that I surround myself with. So I make sure to put people in positions, the people in the important positions in our organization love this business or these businesses just as much as I do. Mm-hmm. And I would say that literally everyone in this building right now treats it like their own.
Sure.
And, that is the culture that we've kind of developed from day one. And that's why we usually most of the time we hire from within. So like if a new job gets created, we look to our stores to see is anyone ready to take the switch over to the brands or is somebody ready to be promoted? Because the culture is key here. And it's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you. It is hard. And the balance is something that I try to think of in a more of a longer term way. So like sometimes right now things might not be as balanced as I want, but maybe in a little bit of time I'm going to have more balance. So I think anybody who does anything great in this world has to be somewhat obsessed with certain things. And I'll be honest with you, the best thing that has happened is my kids. It's made it crazy, right? Like it's been flipped my world upside down, especially adding 2 into the mix. But they have kind of caused me to have more balance, right? Like none of this stuff is really important. All the business stuff really isn't important. They're number one. And so they've helped me create more balance. Otherwise, I mean, I could work 24/7.
Right. And I think balance is a thing a lot of people struggle with. And with this podcast, it doesn't necessarily always have to be fitness and supplements and exercise plans, but like we have a lot of people who listen to this who someday dream of being an entrepreneur or being a business owner. And like you mentioned, you have to be obsessed. You could do this 24/7. But let's talk about the reality of the situation, like the at-home family life. Have you missed out on things in family life that you look back on now and you wish you were there, but you know you had to put the time and effort into Core or Merica or one of the brands that you've been building?
There isn't. Like a good friend of mine, Mark Lubliner, I know he'll sit here and tell you, I mean, like he was on the road when he was growing Scivation, I don't know, 300 days a year. And so like he missed those birthdays and he's missed like all sorts of things, with his kids. Right. And he's making up for that now. And it's great to see. I've been lucky enough where my travel hasn't been that crazy. So honestly, sitting here today, sure, there's been periods of time where, I'm in Australia or I'm in China or I'm in the UK or I'm at the Arnold Classic for a week. And, but I mean, really anybody working a 9 to 5 who might have to travel for work, those,
Right.
you're going to be out. So, yeah, I mean, I always wish there's more time with the kids, but I think a lot of that is putting in the hard work now will create more time, a little bit more time in the future. And I make sure to be like the important stuff, like, it's a priority.
Right.
It's a priority.
Well,
And to be honest with you, I mean, maybe the businesses could have grown faster or could be growing faster if I became completely obsessed, but that's not how I want to live my life, right? Like, that's just not.
No, and you've done a great job, and I'm super curious because I don't know the story of Core. I don't know how Core came about. I'm not super familiar with your background. I know that you competitive bodybuilder, love sports, love fitness, love bodybuilding, love nutrition. But how did Core come to fruition? Where did that idea stem from, and how did you make it into a business?
Okay, so I guess I'll try to make this as concise as possible.
Sure.
So I'll go back to college. So I was in the Penn State Honors Program. I studied biochemistry and molecular biology and economics. So I had a double major in those two things. And when I went to school, I didn't have the size to play D1 sports. I had the talent. I was, a good soccer player, a good baseball player. I was a very fast swimmer, believe it or not, but I was 130 pounds soaking wet. So making the decision to go to school to pursue academics over athletics was what happened. And so when I went to school, I was missing out on all of that training and all the playing the activity, right? And so I needed an outlet. And that's when a buddy of mine, freshman year in the dorm, got me into lifting weights. I was eating boxes of cereal at a time, like at night. And, I gained 40 pounds in the first 6 months. And so I instantly became hooked. And then because of my kind of the biochemistry background, I became really fascinated in it. And this is where I spent hours and hours in the dorm room, literally. At this point in time, we're talking like this is like 1999.
Sure.
Like the internet isn't even really like I'm older than most people think.
Yeah.
I graduated school in 2001, so like the internet was just coming online, really, right? And so there was message boards and chats, but I would spend a ton of time kind of researching supplements and whatnot. And then I moved to DC right after I graduated, had a great job. I did economic litigation consulting for 12 years. But during that time, that's when I got into natural bodybuilding. Some people in a local gym talked me into doing my first show. I won my first novice division, and then I won an open and won my pro card and started winning pro shows in the natural bodybuilding world. But at that time, I wasn't happy with the supplements on the market. So, working a corporate job, sometimes 80 or 100 hours a week, like I relied on meal replacement packets. I don't know if you remember back in the day, the EAS Myoplex packets, which basically was like a protein blend and maltodextrin, right? It's not something you want in a meal replacement. No. And so I was like, man, there's got to be a better way. And so at the time, I actually had a business partner when I first started. So I took $10,000 and he took $10,000 and we created Core MRP. So slow digesting MRP based on oats and barley, flour, and then as the carbohydrate source, and then a blend of protein, digestive enzymes, things like that. And so we sent 500, we ordered 1,000 units. We sent 500 up to Cape Cod Nutrition Corner. James Karen runs a retail store there. He put them in his basement, and I sent 500 to some lady in Pittsburgh who owned a hair salon, and they were our distributors. Well, she sold them all but didn't pay me. And then that was the first kick in the nuts. Yeah. And then as I became more successful in natural bodybuilding, I had a really good job. I didn't need income from this. It was a hobby. It was just a passion. I reinvested every dollar. Yep. So for the first 7 years, I didn't take a penny out of this. And so whenever there was free cash, I would create the next product. Then we created Core PWO. At the time, I was mixing literally 10 powders together. I wanted to do the all-in-one post-workout, fast-acting carbs, whey isolate, added goodies in there. And so just started building products out that way. And it wasn't really until, and I should say, the thing that founded the company and the thing that has not changed to this day are a couple principles. One is, we use efficacious doses of everything. Yeah. We use non-proprietary blends. You hear that? That's a standard these days. We started doing this back in late 2004, 2005. Right. I really don't know anybody else. I mean, maybe NutriBio, they've been around since like 99, and I think they were doing it. But I don't even know. I never even heard of them. They were on the sports nutrition scene at that time. So this was something that was like a passion of mine, is the no proprietary blends. Core ABC had a no proprietary blend. Everything we did, no proprietary blend. I wanted to know what I was taking, wanted to make them in CGMP certified facilities, efficacious doses of everything based on the research, no artificial colors, no fillers for reasons to just cheapen the product. Things that the consumer is demanding now.
Yeah.
Well, we started doing that literally almost 15 years ago. And so those principles obviously still carry along today. And when I took the leap to leave my corporate job in 2013, that's when things really started to kind of take off with the brand. You know, I wasn't distracted with another 80-hour, a week job. I could focus on the brand. And that's where, you know, we went from being stored in somebody's basement of a retail store to a third-party vendor in Atlanta to Newport News, Virginia, where we had 2,000 square feet and then 4,000 and then 6,000. Then we brought it up to DC. I mean, it's just like one thing after another. Now we're busting at the seams at about 12,000. We need to get probably 25 to 30. So it's we've been done a lot of really cool things lately. And people say, oh man, you're blowing up. You're doing like Merica's rolling out into GNC and we have discussions with Vitamin Shop, all this really cool stuff, a ton of international. And they were like, oh, you're really blowing up like out of nowhere. And I was like, no, man, we've been doing this for 15 years. You know, we were selling this out of the trunk of our cars, doing demos and bodybuilding shows. And we were just housed in somebody's retail store basement. So it's kind of been a long road, yet it does seem like things are moving extremely quickly now. And I think that has a lot to do with the team that's in place now.
Well, 2013 wasn't very long ago. I mean, it's 2019, 6 years you've been doing this full time. I had no idea. Like, I mean, I did a full-time gig before I started doing this full-time, and it's like when you take that leap of faith, you're all in. And when you finally took that leap of faith in 2013, did it allow you to actually put more time and effort on the core and grow the brand in a more exponential way in which you wanted?
For sure. And to be honest with you, that was not an easy decision. And I probably stayed, hindsight being 2020, I don't regret staying as long as I did because I've learned so many good skills that I use today. It was it was a really good job. I had made great money. I had a ton of people underneath me. But I would get to work and I'd get everyone doing the things they need to do. And the first thing I would think about is, okay, what's the next regression analysis I need to run for this litigation we're in? It's like, all right, what's the next product we're going to bring out? Where's the next retail store I can open? That was in my mind 24/7. And I knew at that point where I just couldn't get it out of my head that I was like, it's time to go. And so I talked to our boss who, at the time, he was using all my products. He shopped in one of our retail stores. He's like, man, you always have a job here. Just go. If 6 months later you want to come back, you always have a job. And that made it very easy. Sure. And he's like, I guarantee you, after you leave, within a couple months, you're going to be like, man, I should have done this a long time ago. And he was right. He was right. And so to this day, I have encouraged a lot of people to quit their job. Like, people hold on to the golden handcuffs, and until your back is against the wall, like, I need to make this shit work, then you don't have that driver to make sure things work. Yeah. And so once I did that, things really just took off.
Well, then you also launched Merica Labz, and then an extension of that, Merica Energy, the RTD, which blew up. Now a new brand coming out in Arms Race Nutrition, which that's a lot to take on, but that's a lot of things that have happened in the last not even the last 6 years, probably last 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah. So starting in 2000, so we opened our first retail store in 2010, actually, that's Arlington Nutrition Corner. That's when I was still working a day job. So when I quit my real job, I had one retail store and we had Core Nutritionals. As soon as I quit my job, we opened our second retail store in 2013. And then that's when the brand really started growing. We opened another store in 2015. And then at that point, we were kind of all in and we were seeing some really good progress. And so I wanted to do something big every year. And this started in about 2016. So 2016, we opened 4 retail stores. Right now we have 9 retail stores. Yeah. So we opened 4 retail stores in 2016, which was crazy. And then 2017, that's when we launched Merica Labz. 2018, we launched Merica Energy. 2019, we're launching Arms Race. 2020, we talk about it. We have some ideas of what we want to do. Right. But yeah, so my goal starting back then was we need to do something big and innovative every year, or something that's really going to push and stretch us every year. And so far we've done it successfully.
two things that are super interesting to me is because you are in position now with your distribution deals and your partnerships where let's go back to proprietary blends. So proprietary blends now are sort of like resurfacing again. We're seeing them kind of come back. And I just had Chris Gath and Aaron Singerman on, and they said that they think it's because a lot of the marketing is kind of going towards the younger consumer, more the uneducated consumer, so brands can essentially get away with it, or there's stimulant blends now. You're in a position that you could actually create another brand that make good margin on prop blend. You could do that. You choose not to. Why is that?
So we talk about this all the time, right? Like, because there's other markets that they don't care. Like, listen, if you want to be successful in Brazil and India,
right, you
need to make $4 products,
yes,
$6 products at most. You know, our products are well over twice that expensive,
for sure,
right? Like, and so it's not who we are. It's not what we do. And we had this discussion literally today. And I can fill you in a little bit on some of the discussion. It was more of a philosophical question and kind of talking about our core values. And it came down to, it was like, listen, there's a huge demand for a weight gainer that is very cheap, you know, especially in the international market, very cheap, and literally just protein, like 50 grams of protein and 250 grams of maltodextrin. We could throw the Merica Labz. I mean, we already have this product designed, but not the shitty way, right?
Right.
It's called supersized. It's our weight gainer.
Right.
But we could do it in a very a fashion that I would not be satisfied with.
Sure.
Like, it goes against everything that we've done from day one. And we could sell a ton of it. A ton of it into China, a ton of it into Australia, a ton of it, you know, throughout the U.S. And we could spend the marketing. But at the end of the day, it comes back to, it's just like, would I really take this product? You know, and the answer is no.
Right.
And sure, we could make good money on it, but it cuts at all the foundation of everything that we do, of putting out premium products that are, you know, something that we're proud of and something that we would want to take ourselves.
Sure.
And so, you know, it's hard. It's a fine line. We totally could do it, but at the end of the day, I got to sleep at night, and you know, I put my reputation and, you know, our ethics they're on the line, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not all about the money. Like, listen, it's just like, I have enough money to be comfortable right now.
Sure.
Right. It's just like, how greedy do you have to get? Like, do you have to like sell your soul to make so much more money? Like, and that's not what we're about. Right. We're about doing it the right way. We're about doing it the kind of the longer, the slow way, the harder route, you know, the harder path traveled, really.
Yeah.
And we're okay with that. And we all are very proud of that. Everyone here, from our salespeople to our warehouse people to our media people, we're all proud of that. And so I just can't, once I do that, I'm just a sellout, you know, if I did that, if I did prop blends, you know, it's just not something we're going to do.
Super respectable. I think one thing in your case too is you guys are fully transparent in the fact that you own Core, you own Merica, you own these brands. You don't hide behind a certain, or like a pen name or a different, like you publish the stuff via your social channel so everybody knows it's Doug Miller Brands. Like if it was somebody else that maybe you didn't put yourself out there, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. It might be easier for you to pull that trigger and do that. Sure. The second thing is the retail stores. Okay, so you own retail stores. You also own a supplement brand. How does that relationship work between Core and your retail stores and then your external partners coming in with your sales reps? Because some people listening to this podcast might think, well, if Doug owns retail stores, aren't they just going to be pushing Core, pushing Merica? But you guys also carry a plethora of other brands. Case in point, you guys have your big Nut Bash in which you bring in a bunch of brands to represent. And all the brands that come to Nut Bash, for those listening, like, they love Nutrition Corners. They love your retail stores. So how do you find that balance with your sales staff to say, like, it's a fair this is fair game. This is a ball field that everybody can play on.
So we're just open and upfront about it, right? Like, sure, at the end of the day, I make more money because I own the stores and the brands if we sell our products.
Right.
But that's not a great long-term play, and I'll tell you why, right? So there's a couple things at play. One is we teach our guys that this is not a house brand. It just so happens they share an owner, and I'll tell you why it's not a house brand.
Right.
One, it's not called the Nutrition Corners brand. But two, our managers are not paid anything more for having higher Core or Merica sales. They're not. They get, they have a salary and benefits as their baseline, and they get bonuses, monthly bonuses based on average daily sales.
Sure.
And to be honest with you, those numbers do not even take into account margins. And the way we sell, like Core sells our products, we invoice our stores just like any other vendor. And actually, we give other partners better pricing than I give the nutrition coins.
Sure.
And it's kind of funny because, Carl, my GM at the stores, hates me for it because whenever we sell Core, it pulls down the average margin on the stores. But at the end of the day, we do not pay commission based on the sale of Core Merica products, and we don't pay it even on margin. And that's important because at the end of the day, when a consumer comes into, or a client, as we like to call them, comes into our stores, they need to be blown away with the experience. And sometimes a Core Merica product might not be right for that person. And if that is the case, if you sell them a Core Merica product, they may not have a great experience, and then they might not come back in. So our guys are trained to sell the best product to that person for their needs. And again, I'm not egotistical enough to think that my products are going to be the best for everyone, because they're not, right? Now, with that being said, I think the majority of the people would benefit from taking these products, but like realistically, that's not everyone. And so that is pretty much how we run the business. And I think everyone's okay with that, right? Like, I mean, so far, it really hasn't been a problem. And we try to give the same respect to the other brands in there as, as the Carl, who's our buyer, our GM for our stores, gives, Core. And we try to foster those relationships because without them, it's going to be difficult to just be a Core Merica retail store. Like that's not a good model. Like we need to provide more brands for them. And so we do a lot to develop those relationships. And that's what the Nut Bash is all about. I just want to say, it's just like, it's kind of like a mini Arnold Classic. We have like 50 different brands coming there. But at the end of the day, this is like our one event that we want any brand who wants to be successful in our stores, they need to show up and they need to bring, their influencer or their athlete or somebody, because this is the one time that all our managers from all 9 stores are going to be there. It's all about relationships. Everything in this industry, and really any business for that matter, is all about relationships. And so like the Nut Bash is a way to kind of foster those relationships through the, across the different brands. It's a great networking opportunity for, other brands to talk to other brands. Right. So it's the weekend. The theme of the weekend is all about relationships. And, creepy Uncle Carl, our GM, he'll be hugging people and doing all sorts of creepy things. But that's what we're all about.
Yeah. Let's talk about I want to talk about the retail store. And one other thing is the Doug Miller sort of philosophy is full transparency, efficacious dosages in the terms of the products that you create. But I can't imagine every product you carry in the store follows that same mindset or that same guidelines. Now, how do you select? Because I've talked to other retail stores before, and they're like, well, we kind of have to carry Optum protein. We kind of have to carry C4 because they're the most popular in the category. It draws people in, and then maybe we can convert them. I mean, I'm not going to say names, but then maybe they can convert them to a better product for that consumer. So how do you approach as a business when you buy brands to bring into the store? Because some of them are probably products that Doug Miller would never use.
So just to be clear, we don't carry Optimum or C4 in our stores.
Yeah, good deal.
So we made a conscious decision to well, first of all, our margin on Glanbia products was terrible.
Sure.
Like we'd pay $47 or something ridiculous for a 5-pound tub of protein, and you can go on Amazon and buy it for $54. We'd go out of business with rent that's $5,000 or $6,000 a month. Like that just doesn't make sense. So we made a conscious decision, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago to just kick them out. Like we don't need them. Yes, people would come in and ask us, but I would literally say 95 out of 100 people that came in to ask for Optimum or C4 were successfully turned on and educated the way that they should be in a retail store about the other brands that are almost identical to these, right? And so we have other options for them, and we've been successful to do that. So at the end of the day, though, I mean, you got to look at all things. Obviously, the margin has to be there.
Yeah, your business.
If we're not making our baseline margin, this is a brick and mortar business. We have a lot of overhead, right? So we have to have some margin. If somebody's going to come in and just give us 25% margin, we can't do business like that, right? So there's margin. But then obviously is this a brand that we really need in our stores? And this is the question that I'm always pushing the managers. Like we have a process. They send us samples. All the managers get to try them out. We sample it out to clients. And then we have our managers meetings every month, and we do reviews of brands, and we figure out kind of what brands we want. And we don't generally, I mean, we might have a couple times, but we don't generally just bring in a brand that is just a pre-workout. Like, we like to bring in brands that can be a true partner for us across the board.
Sure.
And so, and we're actually in the process of kind of weeding out the brands that are true partners and who are not. So, you know, you look at margin, you look at like, is it a full product line? Is it a true brand, or is it just a product? Like, I would rather have a brand that has a lot more at stake, you know, in our store and who can support us more. It's like, do we really like the people? Do we trust the people? Do we know, is there transparency on where they're having this stuff made? You know, are they using CGMP certified NSF facilities? You know, like, there's been some really shady brands that have sent products to us in like really sketch looking, with really sketch looking labels. Like, they just printed them on their printer at home.
Because they
like,
probably did. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I was like, we can't even consider this. Like, you don't even pass the sniff test there.
Yeah.
And so it's really a combination of all of those things that we have to look at. And
For sure.
We make I'm not a dictator, so we make a collective decision. You know, sometimes if I get outvoted, like, I'm okay with that. Now, obviously, my vote carries a little more weight than everyone else.
It should, yeah, right.
But, you know, at the end of the day, I've been outvoted before, and I saw their point, and we tried some products that, you know, generally I might not have brought in right off the bat, and they've turned out great. So,
Sure.
you know, it's a whole process.
A benefit you have that some people on the outside probably they don't realize or don't think about is you kind of have the Amazon benefit in terms of you get to see what SKUs are turning in high velocity SKUs. And say a pre-workout's selling really well. As a retail owner, you know that. And then you can look at that and potentially you could create something under one of your core brands. How does that play into your innovation strategy when it comes to Core Merica?
It doesn't really. It really doesn't. You know, like I said, we could create this. We know for a fact, because in our retail store, we have a ton of 10-pound weight gainer that is all maltodextrin. It flies out. We do a lot with military. They love the product. We sell a ton of it. And there is pressure to like, why don't you just bring one out? And it's like, well, it's not what we want to do. It's not how we do it. We don't design our products around profit margin, and we don't design them around, a high volume per se. We design products literally around what we want to take and what we want to use and what we can be proud of putting out there.
Yeah.
So this is it. The new flavor is in production as we speak. We've been hyped about this for months and the time is finally here. So let's go check it out. In here. This is it. Galaxy Burst. This flavor has a burst of candy with a hint of tart, leaving your taste buds begging for more. It's fruity and creamy, yet sweet and tangy. After months of testing and formulation, this galactic flavor is sure to take over the galaxy. Now let's give it a try. So good.
Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, time to go.
CG Day, the day everybody's been waiting for. Confirm the label together. Sick! Ghost app. $100 billion.
I don't even know what a fishing shirt is.
Well, it's good. We had Kenton on, your CMO, a couple weeks ago. Brilliant guy, and you're his translator on a daily basis, he told me. But we talked formulas, and one thing that I really enjoy about, specifically the Core brand in general, is the formulas are not copycat cut and paste formulas that you see on the market. I mean, you're using efficacious dosages of branded ingredients that are not cheap. I mean, like nitrosogene, for instance, is not a cheap ingredient that you find in Peak X. I mean, you guys do that and you make great products. It really is a consumer first sort of innovation strategy. So for you guys, when you innovate and you're testing out new ingredients, how involved are you as the CEO in the innovation process of some new products coming out under all your brands?
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but I'm number one, right? Like at the end of the day, usually how this process starts, it's like, you know, I want to design a new product. There's something I want to do. Or I feel like one product is becoming outdated, like our old pre-workout that we kind of upgraded to Fury X. And now we're working on Fury X Platinum. And so these are, you know, they start in their infancy in my head. And, you know, I sketch out the framework for them and like, what are the things that we want to do really differently? And then, you know, Kenton always has a great input. You know, he's a very unique individual in that he's got, you chuckle when I say it. He's got, you know, legal experience, right? Like he's got regulatory experience and he's got the science background. And so, you know, there's always some really cool ingredients which he brings to the table to kind of tweak these formulas and bring them to the next level. Like he might have even hinted at it on his podcast, the next Fury X Platinum. We're going to be doing something that one of these ingredients was Kenton's idea here, and it's super novel. And, you know, I kind of questioned it. I was like, yeah, well, like, is it really going to be a difference? And then we beta tested it, and it's freaking amazing. So, you know, it's a team effort. You know, it usually kind of starts in my head, and then we get input from everyone on our team, on our sales team. You know, even Carl, our general manager, Kenton, Patrick, Sam, you know, Jeff. I mean, it's literally like a team effort. Like, think about it of a whiteboard and like, okay, guys, like, we got to reformulate Fury. What are we going to do here? Here's what I'm thinking. And it's, you know, kind of goes like that. And, you know, it's a team effort, but that's the part that I love, man. And I love formulating. So like, that's where, you know, I think that's what always got me really excited about this business is kind of formulating a product from ground up.
Sure.
And so I don't think there's ever going to be a time where I'm not involved in that. But the cool thing is everyone else on our team is super excited about it and always has good input. Like I can think of off the top of my head, everyone on our team contributing something very, you know, novel and cool that puts a product over the edge. So, team effort, but like that's my passion. I
think one thing in terms of your team effort and maybe you getting outvoted or making sure that every team member has a say in the innovation process is BOLIC, your new natural anabolic that you guys came out with, non-hormonal. But the ingredient laxogenin is an ingredient that some people fully believe in, some people don't because the studies there's not a ton of great studies behind it, but there's people who swear by it and then people who don't. I think you were one of the guys that maybe were kind of questioning it a while back. You weren't necessarily sure it was the real deal. Now you guys have laxogenin at a great dose. You have Pico too. What was it that finally sold you on laxogenin, a non-hormonal anabolic?
Using it, right? Like at the end of the day, I can question a study, but it comes down to how I feel on it.
Right.
And we always knew, we already had the name Corebolic. We always wanted to do a natural anabolic that is not necessarily a test booster, but more of a true natural anabolic, something that's going to increase performance, increase protein synthesis, something like that. And so we toyed around a couple ideas, and you know, I've run laxogenin a couple times over the past year or two, and every time I've taken it, I've seen some really nice results from it. And you know, I was kind of like, okay, so some people think it's crap, and some people think it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so, like at the end of the day, you know, studies can say all they want, but it really comes down to how you feel on the product. And so, and I love Pico too. I think it's an awesome ingredient. And so nobody's brought those two together.
Not once.
And you know, there's really no overlap. They're kind of completely different, but at the end of the day, they're going to both help you in a tremendous way. So it just was like one of those things. It's like, we don't have to overcomplicate this. Both of them are very expensive ingredients to buy. I was like, why do we have to overcomplicate this? And this is one of the things I hate is that like some people, and like a perfect example of this is like our GDA. Our GDA has 4 ingredients, but I will put it up against any other GDA on the market, you know, milligram for milligram, because of the dosing and the extracts and just the science behind the product. But like you look at some of these window dressed GDAs and they put in 10 ingredients. So like on the label, it's like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, you got chromium and ALA and cinnamon. Whoop-de-doo. Like, you know, that's like bringing a pocket knife to a gunfight when you have all these other ingredients like that we use, like the berberine and the GS4, and like all of these things. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all about, very well thought out and you don't have to overcomplicate, and you don't have to window dress products.
Mhm.
And so Bollock was kind of a perfect example of that. And so far, so good. I mean, we launched earlier this week, and it's been awesome so far. So we'll wait for the feedback to come in, but I know I've been using it and I love it.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, go back to you guys don't copycat formulas. You could have easily just came out with a standard laxogen. That's it. You didn't have to put Pico 2, but you did because you wanted to improve overall performance for the user, and that product definitely should do a really good job with it. I want to go back. So laxogen is a natural plant steroid. You said in college you were 130 pounds soaking wet. You're the size you are now. You get it all the time, Doug, right? Isn't there's a nickname for you, Drug Miller, I think is what they call you. Do you get offended by it? Do you take it as a compliment because you're as big as you are? Like, how do you perceive that statement when people say that?
Listen, I've realized a long time ago that in the natural bodybuilding world, you're either a shitty natural bodybuilder or you're on steroids.
Mhm.
There is no in between, right? And so if you look really good, you have to be on steroids. And if you're just mediocre, you're just a shitty natural bodybuilder. That's just the way it is, right? Like, and so like I'm okay with it. It's almost comical, right? Like it kind of blows my mind, and at this point, I'm just totally unfazed by it. Like, it doesn't affect me one bit, but it kind of blows my mind that somebody, just believes and gets so worked up over the fact that I am natural that like they go. I mean, there's YouTube videos all about this, the Illuminati, and they're actually pretty funny. I get a chuckle over them. It's just like, how could somebody they're so worried about what somebody else is doing that like if they just put that time into maybe training themselves for 20 years and doing the right things, like they could have a great physique too. So it's kind of mind blowing. It's kind of sad, but really I just at this point in time I'm unfazed by it.
How big would you be if you were on the juice? Do you think?
I always joke. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go on a ton of steroids and prove them all wrong.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be 280 and they're going to see the true drug miller. But no, I'm not going to do that.
I think the one thing too is like you've been bodybuilding since basically college. It sounds like, right? I mean, you graduated in
2002 was my first show, so that was what is that? 17 years.
17 years. And what people don't realize, like with time, whether you're on the juice or you're not, you're gonna, if you're consistent and you eat right, you're gonna put on size and you can look the way that you do. It's not a shock. Now, if you were using, I'll tell right now, people listening or watching, like Doug's gonna take up the entire screen right now. He's gonna be massive. He's gonna have veins protruding out of his neck. It's neither here nor there, but like it's super impressive. Like to be able to do that. I personally have nothing against anybody who even takes stuff as long as they take it responsibly. But what I don't like is when other people essentially just point the finger and ultimately attribute your success to a drug when that's not necessarily fair to all the hard work that you put in.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't have a problem with anyone taking any drugs. I'm not a holier than thou natural, right? Like I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that I do care about though is somebody who is using steroids and tries to come off either in a very influential way, like on Instagram to show that like if you buy their ebook, you're going to get abs like this, or if you are competing in a natural bodybuilding organization that is drug tested and you're using steroids, I mean, that's kind of messed up. You're a pretty shitty person if that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But like if you want to use and you want to compete in the, NPC, IFBB that's not tested, like whatever, like that's your choice.
Yeah.
There's going to be consequences for use and abuse, so like that, but that's your decision. Like I don't hold that against you. At the end of the day, great natural bodybuilders and great bodybuilders, period, all have to put in the work. And so there is some level of respect there because they have to do all the right things as well. And so like, yeah, I'm not a holier than thou natural. I could care less, really.
Yeah. Well, you once upon a time played the role of a president in a ad campaign for an RTD that's known to the world now as Merica Energy, and you're drinking one right there. But are you shocked with the success of this drink? Because I mean, it blew up. It's in GNCs. Like people want it. They're asking for it in all these different retail locations. How did that idea come about? And are you happy with the success?
Yeah. So I'm really happy with it. And to be honest with you, no, I'm not really surprised because I knew from day one. Now I knew nothing about the drink industry, and I will say it is it's way more complicated than supplements. It's way more logistics heavy. It's way more cash intensive. Like, if you want to be a player in this industry, like, you need to have a lot of cash to to do the manufacturing. You know, you need to have a lot of logistics stuff in place. So it's very complicated, and it took me a good, you know, from the concept in my mind to, you know, working with Kenton to develop all the marketing and the branding and to rolling it out and doing the manufacturing. It took about 9 months, and getting the right, you know, partners involved. And so, but, you know, with the success of Merica Labz in the first year, which, by the way, we did more in sales in the first year of Merica Labz than I did in like the first like 7 years of Core combined or something like that, right?
The buzz was huge. I mean, it was everywhere.
I mean, and in all fairness, I know a lot more now than I did then,
right,
and I have more connections and all that stuff now. But still, anyways, we knew people, the branding resonated very well with people, and we loved energy drinks. Like, we used to drink Monster, like the Ultra Zeros all the time, and we're just like, man, just like every product out there, it's like we get an idea, there's something we use, there's something we love, and we're like, man, I think we can do this, and I think we can do it better. And so that's what we did, and that's why it took us forever to get the right taste and formulation. All that stuff is key, right? Like, you can have a great branded product, but if it doesn't taste good, they're never going to buy it again. So I knew we had a winner from day one. Now, I also knew that it was going to take time, and there was a lot of big players out there. It was going to take a lot of time and money to get where we want to be. So we were literally launched last Memorial Day, so almost exactly a year.
That's crazy.
We definitely hit the number that I was looking at in the first year of business, and I was super happy with that. And now with some of the deals that we're getting done, it's only going to get better. And then that just means we can do more things. We can put out more great products. We can add more flavors. You know, we can do a lot of other cool stuff. So I'm not surprised, but I'm very, you know, thankful, I should say.
A lot of people on their Christmas wish list still have the Doug Miller signature hiking boots. When can we expect those? That was great.
So here's the funny thing: we got those boots went like viral.
Yeah,
dude. We actually had Bronwyn, who's our promotional marketing material manager. We had her try to source these from China, and so we went as far as like getting prototypes and all of this down on these, because we had people calling, like, not just sending us an email. We got emails, but they were literally multiple people calling our warehouse, like our customer service number, asking where they could buy the boots.
Yeah.
It was insane. So we were like, you know what, this would be great if we could get these made. It was way too much money. It was, you know, I don't know, maybe one day we'll do it, but as a like a Christmas joke or something like that. But
we posted it, and people just like, where can I buy these? I mean, everybody was, and they weren't just like jokingly, where can I buy these? People legitimately wanted to buy them, but they also wanted the machete and the grenade with it too, which is maybe a little bit harder to source. So,
yeah, I don't think putting a grenade on your heel is the best idea.
No, probably not. Merica Labz Energy and Core are two similar brands in terms of formulations, are high quality. One's maybe a little bit more scientific than the other in terms of Core, but the branding is completely different. Like Merica Labz, Merica Energy, that brand itself in terms of marketability, it kind of jumps off the shelf at you. Core, and with all due respect, not so much maybe, but like the labels and the science in those products are unbelievable. Have you looked at that Core line in terms of maybe a facelift or an upgrade at some point in the future to, I don't know, you look at some of these brands now, and a lot of it is, we talked the other day, it's like either you have a science-based company or you have a marketing-based company. Well, luckily for you, you have geniuses on both sides, and including yourself. So, like, Core to me is a very science-based company. Merica Labz is marketing, but also has great products. So, in terms of like your baby, what's the plan with that?
I mean, there has been talks, but I mean, you got to remember with Core, we have, I want to say, over 100 SKUs now.
Yeah.
So
it's expensive.
I mean, it's expensive, and like the time it would take to roll it out, and I'll just give you a little hint. So we're going to do a small refresh on the Core Fury Platinum. We're actually going to invert the dark carbon fiber, and we're going to be doing a white bottle, white carbon fiber with a white lid. Not like a full refresh on the label, just kind of inverting it and doing a special edition, just because we want to kind of see how that's going to turn out. Because, you know, I would consider doing some of that. But, you know, actually when these labels first came out in, I think, 2014, 2015, like this design, they've won a couple of awards because we do use a special type of foil and printing process on them. So they're not cheap labels. So we get great feedback from retailers, but it is a darker, more masculine type of look that, unless you have really good retail partners who can explain the
Yeah.
products. So like we always say that Core is more of an education.
Absolutely.
We do really, really well in gyms, and retail stores that have very competent, educated people that can educate the clients that walk in the door. In fact, like we are like the only brand in like all the Gold's gyms around here, Core and Merica, because it's such a complete line. They can order from one place. They don't have to worry about using distributors. It all comes from us. And, it's great for just such a breadth of, a widespread amount of people. And so, but we understand that brand takes a little more education to get people over that buying decision. And, But one of the things, and where America is like this, you see the tongue in cheek, you see the red, white, and blue, the flashy labels, you're going to buy it. Yeah. And then you're going to come back because of the quality of the product. Whereas Core, you have to kind of
see it.
It doesn't have as flashy labels. Now, I will say something that Core does have is a group of we really don't have customers. We have clients, and there is a difference. Like a client is someone who's going to keep coming back and repeat purchases, and not just add 1, 2, or 3 products. They buy 5, 6, 7, 8 products. And so. And we've created a community of people that really latch on to like our tagline right here, crush it, right? Like they latch onto that crush it lifestyle, and it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And we have a very strong ambassador program and a community of people that just like are diehard about the brand. So whereas Merica definitely trumps on the marketing side of it, Core definitely has a stronger community. And so that's something that I'm, really proud of. And, so, yeah, I mean, at some point there might be a refresh. You always have to kind of keep things fresh. But, our focus right now is more on building out the community than it is worrying about, the flashy label.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people at home listening to this too don't understand like the labeling process is. We mentioned, Doug and I mentioned, it's expensive because it's not as simple as submitting a new like Adobe Illustrator file to the printer and doing it. Like sometimes plates have to be redone, and plates are super expensive, and that's where the costs come in, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's thousands of dollars.
And you don't just buy like if you're going to run a couple thousand units of something, you still don't just buy a couple thousand labels, because a couple thousand labels you're going to be paying over $1 a label. Yeah, like you need to buy for multiple runs if you're running that, like unless you're running 10, 20, 30,000 units at a time, you want to be buying for multiple runs.
100%.
And some of our products, we run a ton of units, and some of them are going to be a smaller release and more of a niche product. So we'll run, less of those, but you still have to invest a lot.
Right.
We have a ton of money invested in labels.
Yeah. I want to wrap the podcast up with talking about Arms Race Nutrition. That's kind of outside of Nut Bash. That's the big news this month. There it is. There it is. The simple, I love the simplicity of the labels. I think it look very nice. You guys did a hell of a job with that. Influencer marketing 101 is what we're doing here, but you still have that Doug Miller touch in terms of the labels have been released or have been being released over on Instagram, and they're great. You didn't have to do that. What's the thought process between Arms Race and what's the plan of that brand moving forward?
So just like Merica Labz, where we said we wanted to do a marketing-driven brand. Let's be honest, it's driven by the marketing and the tongue-in-cheek patriotism, everything about it. But we want to stick to our core, no pun intended, principles. We wanted to take that same approach with an influencer. And Julian is somebody that I followed for many years. And in fact, for a long time, for the past probably year leading up to us getting in business together, I was recruiting him for Core. I was like, man, when you're done with bodybuilding.com, and it just, and he was getting offers all over the world. It was crazy. It's like,
and they get good money offers too. For people listening, like these are good money offers for these guys.
Yeah, it's almost embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, and to be honest with you, Julian is one of the few influencers that probably deserves it, right?
Sure,
like some of these people are paid, but like Julian is just a good dude, right? And like that's hard to find, in this industry and especially in the influencer industry. And so anyways, when we kind of got to a point where I was like, all right, things are a little bit too rich for my blood. I can't compete with some of these huge players. I was like, best of luck. Let me know if you needed help. We kind of parted ways. And then, he came back to me a month later and was pretty much like, how about doing another brand? And, at first my big thing with influencers has always been is like, can you really justify that return?
Right.
And the only way to do that is to put them on some type of a commission for direct sales so that you can track the return on the investment.
Exactly.
It's really hard to figure out what is their return on investment for just the fact that they're posting something and you're getting views on your brand. And somebody might buy that product, but they might not use the code. So like he could have more of an influence. And so it took me a little while to kind of get over that idea. And, you know, the more that I've researched it and the more that I've, you know, I'm a student of the industry as well, the more that I see it, like that is the wave of the future. I mean, it really is. Now you have to be a true influencer. I think just being an influencer is dying. You have to have some real influencer. And I think in the coming months and years, you're going to see kind of that separate. You're going to see the people who think they're influencers but don't really have influence, and then the people that really can influence people and are helping people, you know, they're going to really become very successful. And so, you know, it was a great partnership. You know, Julian is somebody, like I said, he's putting out great content. He's helping a ton of people. He's a good all around dude. And, you know, he wants to do the right thing here. And at the same time, when we got together, I was like, listen, you know, somebody else can make your product. They can make it cheaper. You might be able to make more money up front, but you know, might not be the lasting brand you want. And our thought process in all of this was very much aligned. You know, he wants to have something that can stand on its own, even without Julian Smith. Like if he gets hit by a bus tomorrow, he wants to leave that legacy of his great products. And so it was, you know, it's kind of a match made in heaven. Like he's a phenomenal influencer, who's putting out great content and helping people. And we're going to put out the best products behind his name and do an influencer brand, what I feel like is the right way. You know, something that can stand on its own, even if you took the influencer out of the equation. You know, like it's something, the products, you know, speak for themselves. And that's really important. And I think the buzz that we're getting, the interactions that we're getting on social media, you know, on Instagram, so far have been amazing, and I'm really excited for it. And you know, I'm really thankful that, you know, Julian and Casey, his girlfriend, who's very much involved, that they chose Kenton and I for this. You know, like we don't take that for granted. Like that was a big decision, and you know, it's stressful on our plate because we want to be super successful. Not for us. I mean, yeah, sure, we want that too, but like we want to do this for them. Yeah. And so far, so good, because I just can't wait till you start the products in people's hands, and because I've been training on it, and it's amazing. Like the pre-workout and the pump product, which we're going to release information on next week, and then the Vigor product, which we're releasing this week. Like when people use these products, they're amazing. And so like I'm really excited for the reviews, and I'm really excited for people to actually see these labels. They're actually craft paper labels.
Yeah, they're cool.
Which I've never seen in the industry. They just fit with the old school dedication, modern science theme of the brand. They fit Julian. You know, it's like the brand is Julian, which is so cool. Yeah. And from top to bottom, it's like everything is synced. And we're super thankful to be involved in this, and we're really excited because I think the sky's the limit for this brand.
Yeah, and I got a sneak peek at some of the labels too, and I can say like it's not anything like Core. It's completely different than Core. Like in terms of the labels, they're different. There's different unique ingredients. Everything is targeting pathways. Like there's scientific reasoning behind the ingredients chosen in these products. So very cool stuff. Last question, then we'll let you go. What's the thing that you're most proud of today, Doug, after all the years that you've been doing this?
This is going to be cliched, but like my family, and I'm going to say that not just as my wife and kids, obviously, that are like number one. Like I love going home at night and seeing them. Like it's awesome, and I'm so proud of that. Right. But like my family extended to my family of employees here. Like we don't have the biggest team. Like some people are blown away at you know, how many people are actually here, but we are all like family. A little dysfunctional at times. Like, I mean, as Kenton might have said, we'll have tears, right? Like we'll have huge blow up fights, but we can, you know, we always come out better on the other side. And so it's kind of the community, like a lot of what I'm doing and a lot of what I should say we're doing. You know, the thing that excites me the most is creating the opportunities for others and seeing other people get excited about what we do. So my family, not just my immediate wife and kids, but my family that we're building within the businesses is something that I'm really proud of.
Awesome, dude. No, I love it. I think it's cool to get to finally know you and talk to you. And obviously, I've been friends with Kenton for a while. Love the brands, each and every single one of them. So much looking forward to Arms Race. I think you guys are going to kill it there too. So continued success on your part, dude. I don't think there's any way you can fail with your mindset and mentality that you have in business and in life. So I appreciate you coming on, bud. Looking great. Keep it going. Keep killing it. Keep crushing
thanks, man.
it.
I appreciate you. Yeah, there you go. Keep crushing it.
All right, guys, that was Doug Miller, CEO of Core Nutritionals, right here on the Be Informed Live Fit podcast. If you guys enjoyed that podcast, thank you. I enjoyed conducting it. I'm having so much fun doing these podcasts because I'm learning just absolutely so much information and insights from those who know way more than I do. So I'm very appreciative of everybody who's been on the show, and Doug is just another great person to have on this podcast, in which I'm going to learn something, and you all listening to this podcast should learn something as well. And if you loved what you heard, you liked what you heard, hit that subscribe button, write us a review to help out the algorithm. That'll kill it for us on whether it's iTunes, Spotify, iTunes, or if you're listening over at fitnessinformant.com. Just appreciate your support. Seriously, really appreciate your support. We've been doing this podcast for over a year now. It's a weekly podcast. We're going to keep blasting out amazing guests and get great content for all of you. So check out Doug Miller on the Instagram. We'll tag them in the description. And if you're listening here via iTunes or Spotify, you can get that information over at fitnessinformant.com. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Fitnessinformant.com is the URL to our official website. Thank you so much. 33 with the one and only Doug Miller. Everybody, we hope you were informed, live fit, and hang loose.